Welcome back to Elizabeth Plants. My name's Elizabeth, and today I'm going to give you an update on how all my plants are doing post-move. So it has now been we're like a couple days short of 2 months since move-in day. And I thought now would be a good time to kind of give you guys the update on how all of my plants are doing. Now I don't want to do a tour yet, so instead of doing a tour to show you how all my plants are doing, I'm just going to talk to you about it, but we're going to do it kind of reaction style to the most recent tour that I did. So if you have not watched my most recent tour, it was, I want to say back in August-ish, maybe September, then go watch that. I'm going to be watching it, and I'll put like a little mini version up here on the screen over in this space somewhere. But I'm going to be pausing a lot, and I've got it in 1.5 speed, so if you want to actually enjoy the video, I highly recommend going and watching it somewhere in one of these corners. I'll try and remember to put a card of that video so you can find it more easily. So this, like my most recent pre-move houseplant tour, I filmed pretty much my entire collection with the exception of some of the plants that were in my greenhouse. Now, I don't have the world's best memory, so I'm not going to be able to necessarily remember what plants were in my greenhouse. So let me know if you want me to do a reaction video to my greenhouse tour. That one's a lot older of a video, so it's not necessarily going to match up with this tour the best. But I can do that if you guys are interested in not missing whatever plants I had in the greenhouse at the time of the tour that I'm about to watch. Let's just get started. So just for you guys, I'm starting the video past my intro, just because we don't need to hear me intro again, like I just did that. And we're gonna get right into the plants in the video. I start in my bedroom, which is fitting because I now film all of my sit-down videos in my bedroom. Okay, the first plants that I show in this video are my hanging heartleaf philodendrons. I've got the green, just the regular green one, and then I've got my Brazil. Those plants, like, they look pretty decent in this video. They are a little bit more scraggly than they were, you know, back before the move, but the only like damage they withstood from the move was post-move when my cats were digging in them before I like gave them a home. But they are located in this bedroom, so I can look at them right here. I mean, honestly, they look fine. A little scragglier, less full, but fine. Could probably use a water. They're a little droopy, but that's pretty standard. Now I'm looking at my neon philodendron. This one, kind of same story. It handled the move fine, but then my cats dug it up a couple of times, and so now it is really struggling. It's barely hanging in there. It is one of the few plants that doesn't have a home yet. I would like to hang it somewhere, but I actually was able to get a plant that I'm recouping from pests from elsewhere that I was given, and it is one of them is a neon pothos. So once the neon pothos that I was given is pest free, I'm gonna combine them and then find a place to hang them in my apartment. But I'm really hoping mine from Michigan survives, like my neon pothos, because I really liked it. I mean, it obviously doesn't have the leaves it did before. It doesn't have the shape that it did before because of the cats kind of destroying it, which is a bummer. But I still, like, it's still mine, you know? So that's gonna kind of be the story for a handful of my plants. It's just that they moved fine, and then the cats dug them up. Yeah, the video like points in on that variegated leaf. I don't think that leaf exists anymore. But the new one, the one that I'm recouping, does. So this large DRACAENA that you're seeing, it moved well for a long time. It was doing really well. I have it in the living room. It gets significantly less light than it used to, and it's dropped a lot of leaves. I don't believe the leaf dropping has to do with the sun. I do believe it has to do with the two new shoots that it has shot up that are just like growing like crazy. I really don't think it's getting enough food. And one of my goals is to give this guy a nice dousing of food next time I water him. So he's a little bit bare at the bottoms, but he is still, you know, going strong, and his new shoots are growing like wildfire. Then I've got a regular pothos. That one literally identical to when we moved. I have got it located in the kitchen. It gets some decent light, but it gets more light when the kitchen lights are turned on because it's under the cupboards, and the cupboards have like underneath lighting. So then we had my burly marks. You're gonna see a couple of burly marks in this tour. I'm just gonna brush past them because you saw me repot all of my burly marks pots all together in one of my most recent repotting. So if you wanna see how that guy's doing, check out one of my most recent repotting videos. So my SCINDAPSUS PICTUS exotica is doing okay. It was dug in by the plants, but it didn't seem to respond negatively to that. And I believe it only happened like once or twice a while ago, maybe like a month ago at this point. He's sitting under my TV again in a different pot because that pot actually broke in the move. I'm sad about that, but sitting underneath my TV still. It gets significantly less light than it used to. That's the case for all of my plants, at least all the ones that aren't in like a lighted shelving. But I mean, it's a SCINDAPSUS and it still gets some bright light, some like for like an hour or two in the day, as long as it's sunny out. But I mean, he looks the same. He looks fine. He didn't even notice we moved. So my Philodendron Moonlight is rough. It's one of the few plants that does not have a home yet, and I honestly can't tell you if this is because of the move or because of my cat's digging, but it has lost quite a few leaves. Mostly the older leaves. I'd say most of them look like it's stress dropping, or like lack of nutrient dropping, or lack of lighting dropping, which is fair, considering it's just in a tub with like very indirect light. But I'm hoping to get it a home soon so it can kind of refresh. It's going to be bare at the bottom for a while, and it's going to have some short leaves for sure. But it is now in soil instead of black. So this red emerald and ERUBESCENS mixed pot has kind of bounced around a little bit. I don't remember where I originally had it, and it was doing fine there, but when I moved some furniture around, I found a spot that I really wanted it. Because this plant has darker leaves, it doesn't need as much light as a lot of my plants do, so it is further away from the window in this room. So it's over here, and it is currently adjusting to soil. I added some of my other cuttings to it, and so it's kind of like in a weird adjustment stage, and I'm thinking about chopping it back, but it's not acting stressed. It doesn't really look all that much different. It's more full at the bottom, which makes it look proportionally weird, but he's doing fine. Yeah, so this lime DRACAENA looks identical, no changes. It's in soil now. It's in my living room next to the couch, next to my other DRACAENA, so it gets significantly less light, but it's growing fine. Not as fast, but it was growing like ungodly fast before. So, and he's adjusting to soil right now, but basically looks identical. I think it lost like an incredibly old leaf, and I didn't even notice because it's like deep down in the pot. It's in a basket, but I think it's in a different basket. All right, so my rubber tree is outside. My rubber tree, if you watched my moving videos, I kind of trimmed the top off of, and I tried to save those cuttings, but they didn't root, and by the time like they started rotting instead of rooting, it had lost all its leaves. The cuttings didn't make it. I'm not too sad, but there's a whole bunch growing up from where I cut it, and it chills outside. It definitely is needing something. My guess is nutrients. I think a lot of my plants need a good like fish emulsion feeding. So I mean, he's loving it outside right now. I'm probably gonna end up bringing my plants inside in the next month. I don't want to, but I'm gonna do it when the weather starts getting cold, and that guy will likely be housed right here when he comes inside. Let me know if you want to see a video of how I prepare my outdoor plants to come in and kind of where I put them, how I keep them. Alright, so my fiddle fig, I sold it before the move to somebody local. They loved it. And my birds of paradise are also outside. They seem to be enjoying it. Not being knocked over by my cats is probably one of their favorite things. I have no idea where I'm going to put this guy when I bring him in. Or if I'm even going to bother bringing him in, because he's so hardy and he's up off the ground. It'll kind of depend on how the weather goes. But doing fine. It looks like nothing even happened. So my Peperomia obtusifolia has been potted in soil, is adjusting okay. He's in my kitchen, but the cats knock him over a lot. So I'm trying to figure out a way to get him not knocked over all the time so he can stop being so freaking stressed. But he hasn't lost much. There's not a ton of damage. He's doing fine. So my SCINDAPSUS PICTUS Silver Splash is currently chilling right there. He's chilling right there. That's not a permanent location. I kind of put him there because it looked nice for the video, but he currently doesn't have a home and gets dug in quite a bit. Has lost some leaves, looks real funky. Like if you get up close, maybe you can't see it in the video, but if you get up close, you can definitely tell that I just pulled all of the branches up and shoved it in the soil for the move. And that's just kind of how he's been sitting for 2 months. Lost, you know, a couple of leaves, nothing dramatic. He wasn't completely dug up, just dug up a little, so every time the cat's digging him a little bit, I dump some more soil on top. When he needs it, I water him. He's doing fine. Not cute, but fine. Okay, so we've got my giant aloe that is outside on my patio. Looks fine. I mean, it's got some browned leaves. It's adjusting. It probably could use an up pot, but I'm not gonna. At least not anytime soon. Water him when I water everything outside. He's not covered, so if it rains outside, he gets rain, but he's in terracotta. So it doesn't necessarily make a difference. And then next to it, you can see a little, green Dracæna. Because I had a couple of those, whatever I didn't sell, I potted together and it's currently temporarily chilling under my TV behind another plant just because cats can't knock it over there. That palm I did bring, hoping to bring it back because it had green, but whatever box it was in, it was one of the boxes with mold, and so it just molded, and I tossed it when I unpackaged all of my tote boxes from the move. He is from the Austin area though, so if I needed another one, I can get him pretty easily. Then my SELLOUM blue, you saw me repot a couple of videos ago. He's sitting in one of my glass containers here. He's adjusting pretty well. No movement, negative or positive, which just means that he's adjusting. Then we have this little clipping of the army Syngonium that's in another glass box in here, doing fine, has a new leaf that doesn't seem to have any variegation on it, and it's a little bit smaller. So I'm just kind of riding that plant out to see what it does. This little Dracæna is outside. I don't have any interest in it. Like, I don't care about it. I tried to get rid of it beforehand. I don't have time to do anything with it here. It's just chilling outside and it's doing fine. I potted it up in soil, I think, but it moved in leca. So it dropped quite a few leaves, but it exists. It's alive. So I don't really know any of my stumps. I don't know where any of my stumps are in comparison to before because they all just look like stumps. I've got a couple of stumps that are doing fine, and I've lost a lot of stumps. I don't know what to tell you there. Got some I don't got. This alocasia though, like alocasias do, it dropped the old leaf while it was adjusting, and it had one leaf for a while. It's got, I think, 3 now. It's underneath my TV out in the living room, and it seems to be doing really fine. I mean, it pokes up into the TV screen a little bit, so I kind of always see it. But it's healthy. It's adjusted, and now it's just beginning its thriving period. So pretty much any succulent that survived, which I think is all of them, they are outside on a shelf doing fine. I do not believe I lost a single succulent, so I'm not going to kind of point out, all of the specifics. They're all doing fine and they're outside. So my THAUMATOPHYLLUM BIPINNATIFIDUM, SELLOUM, is outside. I am sort of transporting it into soil. So what I did is it's in its pot outside in a tray. And instead of just keeping the tray filled with water, I have slowly started adding soil to the top and washing it through the leca because it's way too heavy, way too big. I don't have any space to do an actual repot. My hope is just to slowly add soil until it's, living in a mixture of soil and leca. And so instead of filling the reservoir, I do top water it. And then whatever lands in the reservoir, I leave. And it seems to be thriving outside. It dropped a couple of leaves right after when it was first adjusting, and it's popped out maybe 4 at least since the move. I'm also in the process of slowly propping it up. So it's slowly being pushed to grow up, and we'll see how it goes, but he's staying outside. I have no idea if I'm even going to try and bring him in the winter. He's so established, so big, and so heavy that I don't know that it's even realistic. So my ribbon is in glass container, doing fine, adjusting fine. Nothing notable there. All of my lime uprights, I believe, are all potted together. I don't think I have multiple pots of them, but they're in a glass container. They're doing fine. They kind of look exactly the same, quite frankly, which just means they paused themselves during the move and adjustment period. I'm pointing out the aerial root. That aerial root wraps around the plant twice now. It's probably that long, which is the width of a queen bed. If I were to strain it out, it'd probably be longer than that. So my regular old snake plant's over here. It's lost quite a lot in the move. It was in really dry soil, and I've transported it, and it still is in pretty dry soil. But I've repotted it very, very recently into a, I think it's painted terracotta. And it's in there, and I've tried to water it more frequently, and it's got a couple of yellow leaves right now, but fingers crossed. My Diana Duel is outside. I did a whole video kind of on this guy because he had such an incredible infestation of scale. He's outside and he's doing okay, considering. I'm just glad he's alive. My Moonlight snake plant is underneath the TV, doing fine, no movement, no growth. He gets not the brightest light he could. I think he would do better with brighter light, but he's doing well. Those snake plant cuttings never made it to my mom's. They're out in the living room and they're doing really good. My Anabapawense lost a couple of leaves, but you can't even tell. It's doing really, really well. It popped out a smaller leaf, and it's in the process of popping out another leaf that I hope is bigger. It's out in the living room and he looks really good. So I don't know if I did it in a video, but all of my cuttings and all of the stumps and everything from my Tetrasperma got potted together and then trimmed back to be shorter. So he's really full and bushy right now, and he's doing really well. He sits in a window. That varied pot I tried so hard to get rid of. I tried so hard to get rid of that varied pot. I'm kind of sick of it and I don't really care about it. I'm tired of it. But it sits in this container and it's doing fine. It got dug up once, which is why I put him in the container. So he's a lot more bare than in this photo, but he's doing fine. My white butterfly got dug up and there's not much left, but it is still in one of the storage bins that I transported in. It's doing okay considering it gets disturbed a lot. My variegated peace lily lost a couple of leaves and I kind of hated the process. If you watched my most recent new shelf, then you will see that I put him in there, so you'll kind of get an update in that video. I recommend watching that video. You'll get an update on a handful of my plants. My monstera got ripped to shreds by the cats. What's left is not doing well, but it's trying. I have moved him into my glass container over here, and he is in LECA. The stumps got dug up and are in the other room. They're doing way worse than the ones that I have in here. I don't know if they're gonna make it because of the cats. That aloe next to the Adansonii is outside on the succulent shelf doing fine. Those two succulents are outside on the succulent shelf and are doing wonderful. You know, I believe we did lose the one on the left, lost quite a few of its little petals, but it's really not hard to do that. That just happened because it got shook up quite a bit. My pineapple is doing a little bit worse than it was in this photo, but it's doing fine. It didn't like lose leaves per se, it just hasn't really grown any new leaves. And the ones that it has, the cats have chewed on it, but it doesn't have a home right now. All of those prop boxes are doing okay. I lost quite a few of the props due to them drying out in the move process and the adjustment process, but they sit in here kind of underneath the window, next to a glass container and my bearded tank. They're fine. Again, more succulents and cacti. All of those plants are outside on the patio and everything on the patio is doing wonderful or fine. All of my cacti, all of my succulents are out there because the cats chew on my cacti and I don't like that, and the succulents just prefer it outside. You got an update on my variegated ZZ in my most recent shelf video, so I highly recommend if you're interested, go check it out over there. We have some sad news and we have some good news. And then again, all of these succulents and cacti are outside, and that little tiny snake plant is in the shelf over here. It looks identical to what it did in this video. This pot of pink pothos is by far the saddest thing that has happened in this move. It was so big and fluffy and full. It was in like a 10-inch pot that was just filled. It had a huge root system. It looked so good. And then my cats dug it up like 3 nights in a row because it doesn't have a home yet, and there's like maybe 5 branches left. Like absolutely no more than 10 leaves. It looks horrific, and I'm so sad. Like really, really sad about this one. I was so mad. The stumps have grown really well. They are definitely sitting in a spot that is way, way, way too dark for them. They don't have a home yet. The next shelf I get is where they will be homed, but I mean, they're just the stumps and they're doing like phenomenal. So these guys, I put them back in my elephant pot in a recent video, and then half of that vining plant just like turned to mush in a week, and because I'm working full time now, I didn't necessarily notice it right away. And the other one just like also turned to mush. So I don't know what happened, but the snake plant is doing well, and I'm keeping a close eye on the other half of that vining plant because I really like it. So these stumps are doing a lot better actually. So I have them, yeah, they're in this pot, and there's some more leaves coming off of them, so that's really exciting. They're teeny tiny leaves. They're definitely very juvenile, but they look good. All of my cuttings of Syngonium have been potted up in soil, are either in the shelf over there or in the plastic container, but they're all doing fine. Like they've been dug up a little bit, but they're doing fine. My silver amidrum is loving it. It is loving life. It's got a new leaf that looks really cool. It's in my shelf, my new shelf, so you check it out in that video. My monstera got moved into soil and it's taking a while to adjust. It's been pretty curled. I think it got overwatered once and then knocked down like twice, but it hasn't lost anything, and well, it's grown a little bit. So whichever Pustazanum or Gloriosum this is, I've got it potted up in soil in this shelf over here, and it's not moved much. it doesn't have this leaf anymore. So it's just got like a growth point, and that's all it's done the entire move. It lost this leaf before the move, and it's just a growth point, and I'm not touching it. My billieti was doing actually really awesome until yesterday. It's sitting behind the camera on a dresser, and I don't know if my cat messed with it or if it's just adjusting weirdly to soil all of a sudden, but it got moved into soil and it like dropped 4 leaves. And it looks kind of rough. So I'm keeping a close eye on that guy. My lime fiddle golden dragon is doing phenomenal. I'm looking at it right now. It's on the same dresser. It takes up so much space. It's huge, and it's got a couple new leaves actually now that I'm looking at it. It looks great. It's one of my favorite plants. My Mayoi, whatever, is out in the living room, and he actually doesn't get a ton of light, but his newest leaf's not that much smaller than the old growth. He seems to be really enjoying where he lives, and he is in soil now. My Decursiva is right over here, and he is loving life, never even showed any problems from the move. I potted him up in something larger. I can't remember if I did it on camera because he was pretty root bound and was drying out really, really fast. And now he's doing lovely. He gets the most light you can in this apartment without being under a grow light. My Stenolobum looks phenomenal still, sits under the TV by my patio door window, looks great, growing well. That cutting's actually doing okay. I think it's in soil now. My Marimo's in the kitchen in a little glass terrarium underneath my golden pothos, and seems fine. This little cutting is doing really well. It's in my kitchen. I'm waiting for the root system to get a little bit more strong, and then I'm going to put him in a tiny hanging pot. My Melanochrysum is actually doing really awesome, popping out a new leaf. It's a little stringy, so I'm considering just like chopping him all the way down to a stump, propagating all of it, and making him more full. But the cats knocked him over the other day, and I'm really scared of chopping him up too much. But I'm really considering chopping him up all the way down, rooting up the cuttings, and making him more full, because he is really stringy. Those cuttings are also doing fine. My Micans lost quite a lot of leaves. My Micans has always struggled since I got it. He's in the exact same pot, exact same leca, sitting under a grow light, has like barely any leaves. Honestly, I'm probably gonna end up replacing him eventually. Those cuttings were added to the plant. Check out the update on my Jose Bono in my new shelf tour, because he's been through it, and you'll get to see that. The pink splash lost quite a bit and is readjusting to soil right now. The rest of these cuttings were either added to their parent plant, potted up, or are still like in cutting mode. But all of them that I see here still exist. Then again, same story. Most of these were either potted up with their parent plant, are still in cutting mode, or were potted up separately, like that Pearls and Jade was potted up with the parent plant or by itself, I can't remember, and is in my kitchen. The splashes were added with the splashes or are still in water over here, depending on kind of their leaf situation. Everything is either still a cutting in water somewhere or was potted with the parent plant. My Bobsea is a sad story. So if you saw kind of my unpacking videos, my Bobsea really got very moldy and mushy in the move process. It suffered probably the most from the moisture issue that I had, and it lost all of its leaves slowly. It definitely lost the moldy ones right away because I cut them off. But then it lost the rest slowly and is now sitting over here in leca, and it has just popped out a new leaf. So it only has one leaf now that it just popped out this week. So he's coming back. He just had to, you know, start from scratch essentially. My Imperial Red, which I think is what it is under the TV. It's doing fine. It's leaning a lot, so I'm trying really hard to get it to stand up straight, so it's tied up to a stick now, but it hasn't really struggled much. This little black cardinal is over here on, it doesn't get a ton of light, but it's on my humidifier. It popped out a real weird leaf during the move that's like real ugly, and as soon as it starts popping out more growth, I'll probably trim it off. But it's doing fine. He's in soil now. That palm is outside, still struggling but doing better. And it is in LECA still, but I want to put it in soil simply because of being outside. It dries out a lot faster in LECA, but it isn't underneath a cover, so it does get rained on. My Thai sunrise has been struggling since before the move. It drops more leaves than it grows. It grows tiny leaves. I've tried trimming it back. It's in soil. I've tried refreshing the soil. I don't know what it needs, but it hates its life right now. My Ivory Coast has been loving the move. It dropped a couple of leaves due to kind of, it's lived in a lot of places. And it seems to be okay now. It's popped up a lot of tiny growth. My Magic Marble is struggling. It lost quite a bit, but it's doing fine now. My Winlandia is doing good, lost a couple of leaves, but it lives in a lighted shelf over here. My Metallica is over here. It grew 2 leaves since the move, but it lost 2 leaves, and I'm not entirely sure why, so we keeping an eye on that guy. My Balanui, anyways, popped out a new leaf, now has 2 leaves and is doing pretty well. My Reverted, I've cut back entirely and have been trying to root whatever is left, which is, going fine, but he's just a stump right now. My Pedatum's doing okay, but his growth is coming out tiny and weird, so I'm not really entirely sure what's up with him. Keeping an eye on it. At a glance, what I'm seeing, a lot of the plants that are in here are in my new shelf, or I've shown them in one of my shelf tours recently. Most of those plants are doing well, or are going to be doing well because now they have a home. And the only one that I see in here that isn't shown in one of my most recent videos, go check that out, is my Anthurium. Anthurium something, but that something stands for like fingers, I think. It's the like claw looking one. He's doing really well over in one of these shelves. Yeah, he lost all of his leaves in the move. I don't really remember why. I think it might have been a mold issue. But he's got a new leaf coming up right now. It's tiny, but that's good. That's exciting. And again, most of these are now in soil. The Mexicanum is not in the shelves. It's over here and it's doing wonderful. It just kind of paused while it adjusted, and now it's pushing out a new leaf. That Dracena got sold. My Maranta hated the move. It absolutely hated the move. It's alive, but it is nowhere near as full as this. I repotted it into a similar size pot. But it just, because I think it needs a lot more food and light than it's getting. It's not getting different light though. I don't know. I'm definitely going to give it a nice fish emulsion the next time it needs water. And fingers crossed, I mean, he's been really resilient. I've killed him back several times. I've had him a long time. So he'll come back eventually. I'm just sad that he lost so much. Yeah, so that's actually still the majority of my collection. I did get some new plants. You'll see that video, I think, this week. But basically, most of my plants are fine. Either they've lost whatever they need to lose and are coming back. They never left. I've got a handful of plants that are struggling, some plants that I'm going to, now that they're just to try and mess with. I've repotted a lot of things to soil. Let me know if you are excited to see an actual tour. We're not there yet. Not until everything has a home will I do the tour. But I'm kind of excited to do the tour and show you guys everything. And I'm really hoping some of the plants that are struggling, bring it back. I'm really excited. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to see more houseplant content, and I will see you next time.